great to see everybody today. I guess this signing day that we've always known as signing day has become a limited edition signing day. The day that we all look forward to that sort of ends recruiting for this year and really begins it for the next year. But we signed 3 players today to go with the 22 players that we had signed before. So that brings our total to 25. We're really excited about the class that we were able to attract, but I think this is an accumulation of a lot of hard work by a lot of people. I think our recruiting staff here did a phenomenal job of sort of setting the table for our coaches to be able to go out and make the kind of evaluations, and that's something that you have to do really early on now to figure out who you want to recruit, and then going through the process of developing the relationships to recruit them, and then the team of people that we have to have here, because we really do team recruit here at Alabama. I'm talking about not just the assistant coaches, but our support staff here, whether it's the academic staff, our strength and conditioning coaches, medical staff, nutritionists, the university community, the time that they spend helping these guys in terms of academic meetings for what they want to major in. Our administration, Greg Byrne, President Dr. Bell, just so many people that contribute to the team that helps us have success in recruiting. I also think that all of our fans out there who create an atmosphere and environment when these players visit, whether it's A-Day or in the fall for a game. The tradition is such an important part of what players want to be involved with, but when they see the spirit and enthusiasm and passion that our fans have, I think that goes a long way to allowing players to know this is the kind of place that it'd be really fun to play at. I think we had early 13 guys that came in early this year, which is probably a good from a player development standpoint for us. I think it's always a good transition for guys academically when they come in a bit semester, less time involved in football. Socially, I think they have more time to themselves to develop relationships, and the learning curve for what they have to go through, maybe to be able to compete and contribute next year is a little more time friendly for them because they have a lot more time to learn and develop. I do think that one of the things that people have to understand now is about the only thing that is certain now is the uncertainty, because of the way we established that players can't leave your organization. There's more multiples for how people come to your organization. So roster management becomes sort of much more difficult, and there's some uncertainties in what the roster is going to look like. It used to be when I stood up here this time of year, I knew exactly who was going to be on our team and how it was going to go, and I'm not sure that's always the case. But I know today you all talked a lot about rankings and ratings and who did what in recruiting, and I think the key thing for us is we felt like we got a lot of good players, character, quality people who want to get an education, who are good football players. And I think if you look at the average rating of the guys that we got, it's pretty high, regardless of where they rank us. But I think that the focus for young players coming in the program is not on where they're ranked and how they're rated as high school players, but what do they have to do to develop to be quality football players when they get to college. And I think that a lot of times we create a lot of expectations out there with our fans, as well as for the player, that are very, very unrealistic and sometimes difficult for guys to achieve, and also difficult for guys to stay focused on, not necessarily the outcome, but what do I have to do to get to the outcome, which means what do I need to do to develop to be a good player. Because, we have a responsibility and obligation to give every player an opportunity to play, and we've had a lot of freshmen contribute to our team here. But we also have a responsibility and obligation to not play players before they're ready to play, because they're not going to create value for themselves if they have to do that. And hopefully, we'll have enough depth on our team that, that's not really going to happen. But I don't know which one of these guys will turn out to be the guys that develop quickly and can contribute to our team next year, but we're certainly going to give everybody an opportunity and try to help these guys develop the best we can. So, again, I want to thank everybody that contributed, their hard work contributed to the success of this class, and we're looking forward to working with these guys so that they have an opportunity to be successful personally, academically, and athletically here, have a better chance to be more successful in life because they were involved in our program, and that remains to be the goal that we have for all the players in our program.
Coach, we'll start in the back with Cecil.
Coach, I think against Michigan in the last game of last season, you were down to one defensive lineman, Raekwon, who had significant playing experience. Everybody else was either hurt or new. How do you feel like you addressed that position in recruiting? Did you get it out?
Well, I think we had 5 guys that were freshmen last year. 2 or 3 of those guys played a significant amount. We feel like the other guys have an opportunity to develop into being players. I thought the 3 players that we got at that position this year are certainly good players that, will contribute to that as well, because, Raekwon is really the only guy that is leading, that group. So, I think we need to make significant improvements with those guys, but I always say that guys really improve a lot from their first year to their second year, get a better understanding of what's expected, give them a chance to develop a little bit physically, especially in line positions. I feel like in the last 2 years we've added good young talent at that position.
We'll stay over here with Mike Rodak.
What have been your impressions of Jason McClellan and also just the running back position as a whole with Najee coming back for next year?
Well, I like the experience that we have. Najee was certainly a player that, played extremely well for us this year and played better and better as the year went on. I think, he'll be very productive for us next year. B-Rob has, been a productive player, and hopefully he'll have a great year. And, Trey Sanders will come back, and, Keelan Robinson, showed flashes of being a guy that can be a good player, and we added 3 running backs this year. So, running backs are really guys that make great special teams players. They're kind of a little bigger, a little more physical, still fast, still athletic. So I think all these guys can contribute, some kind of way to our team. And, we played a lot of times around here when 3 guys have gotten a lot of reps at that position. And, hopefully, that might be the case next year.
We're on the right with Charlie.
Today was a very busy day for you guys. Was that what you expected, and how do you feel like you addressed your remaining needs?
I didn't hear.
Say it again.
Sorry. Today wasn't a very busy day for you guys, just in terms of signatures coming in. Is that what you expected, and how do you feel like you addressed your remaining needs?
Do you guys take math? Do you have math class?
Not even one.
Did you learn how to add when you did have math class? Like 22 and 3 make 25?
Wasn't very busy.
What's that?
I think you said it wasn't very busy today.
No, I know, but is that what we expected? We only could sign 3 guys. That's what we expected, based on math. But it was a very busy day, because the calendar is moved up. So I spend my whole day today, and we spend our whole day today, really on next year's recruiting. That makes sense? So I think I talked to 22 guys today. And I think I talked to 14 guys yesterday. Right, so it was very busy. In fact, by the end of the day today, I was stuttering on the phone and having a tough time speaking clearly. So that's how busy it was. It wasn't busy in terms of how many guys we signed, but we had lots to do.
Go in the middle here with Michael.
Just overall with this class, where do you think you addressed the biggest needs? Where were those addressed this year?
Well, I think quarterback's always a big thing. Bryce Young, obviously, we feel is a very talented guy, and hopefully, we can bring him along from a development standpoint as well as the other quarterbacks that we have on our team. I think the biggest thing was we got a significant number of guys in the front seven. Talking about outside backer types, defensive line types, guys that are athletic, guys that can rush, inside backer types. That was probably really something that we needed to address, because I think the lack of depth at that position last year was a factor for us. I think we were pretty good, but as soon as we lost Brian Bray, as soon as we lost 2 inside linebackers, now all of a sudden we're playing 4 freshmen in front seven for the entire season, and even though those guys did the best they could, it wasn't quite the standard of what we would have liked to have been able to play with on a consistent basis. So now those guys are going to be young guys, but hey, this is all about the future, and how do we continue to build, the program for the future. So I would say those were the 2, most critical areas for us. But really, you'd like to be able to say that you solve some of the needs 1 year in advance. We got 3 offensive linemen, 2 tackle types. A year from now, that's going to be really important. So, I think we got a couple good DBs, a couple corners. I think a year from now, that's going to be really important. So, we're really working, people used to talk about 5-year programs. Then you talk about 4-year programs. We had 8 seniors on the team last year. That was largely because of 7 guys going out from the draft, a couple graduate transfers, someone else leaves the program, or you help them leave the program. And now, instead of having 18 seniors, you have 8. Well, that means there's 10 guys playing down here that hopefully you were able to recruit and develop quickly enough before they had to play. But it makes a significant difference on the maturity on your team, the leadership on your team, and all those types of things.
2 more, we'll start with James.
Last week you announced the tight end Carl Tucker from North Carolina would be transferring.
He can't talk.
He did not sign. Graduate transfers do not sign, so we can't really discuss it.
2 more still. We got Tony and then a couple more seasons involved.
The wide receiver class, with losing Gary and Henry, how big was that to fill and kind of restock?
Well, we feel good about having Smitty and Daniel Waddle coming back, and we feel like we have a couple of young guys that'll develop into guys that can play, but we also feel really good about the 2 guys that we got. We've had other guys play at that position as freshmen, and if those guys can develop quick enough, maybe they can contribute next year as well.
2 more. Simone and then Cecil. Sorry, Coach.
Hey, Coach. Today on the radio, one of your former assistant coaches was complimenting you and talking about the way that you recruit. And the conversation was about whether you would ever be on social media, and that you don't really like to text, that you really like to talk on the phone to guys, to recruits. Why is that? And also, is social media ever something that's going to be in your future? Twitter, I think.
Well, look, there's obviously a generation gap between the 2 of us. The way I grew up communicating was talking. When I pumped gas in my dad's service station, I went to the window and said, "May I help you, please?" I didn't text them and ask them. So I think, to me, I kind of feel sorry for people that I see walking around looking at their phone, running into the wall, not even knowing, somebody getting shot across the street and they don't even know it because they can't take their eyes off their phone. I'm in the other camp, I feel sorry for people like that, but I think to develop relationships, it's really important, to be able to communicate with people. And I think sort of everybody out there understands that I'm not a social media person. I don't have Twitter. I don't communicate that way. But I do really respect and respond better to personal relationships. That's with players after they're here and when we're recruiting them. So I hope it's not hurting us in any kind of way. But that's kind of the style, So. Do you think it's hurting us in any way?
No.
We'll wrap up with that.
Coach, I was curious first if you had a chance to speak with Mark D'Antonio, and also in stepping down at Michigan State, he said one of the many reasons, but one of the reasons was the amount of time that you now have to put into recruiting year-round. That you virtually had no time for anything else. And have you seen that change in the demands on your time as well?
No, I haven't had a chance to talk to Mark. I have, talked to a couple people at Michigan State, concerning, Mark. Well, I do think that recruiting has changed. I do think the time commitment to recruiting is more significant now than it's ever been before. Because we used to there was time sequestered on the calendar when you actually emphasized recruiting. In other words, most of the guys would visit in December and January, and you would have a February 2nd signing date. Now we actually have guys visiting in April, May, every weekend in June. We try to have camps in June, and we have guys making official visits. July is dead. And then we have a significant number of guys visiting during the season. So, because everybody is sort of this. Look, I said this when we made an early signing date. It's going to be the signing date. So is this the third year we've had an early signing date? It is the signing date. So what percentage of players signed early? 90%? Most people were in the same situation as us today. They only had 2 or 3 spots, to fill. So, basically, but that all got moved up because of December 18th or whatever the day was, where it was the signing date. So this has become a year-round, like I used to sit in the office 10 years ago and do nothing but recruit for this class on this day to try to get guys signed and make sure everything was going the way it was supposed to this day. We had guys having 1 o'clock press conferences, 12 o'clock press conferences. And I haven't talked to a single recruit today that we're recruiting in this class. I talked to 22 guys that we're recruiting for next year. All right, so it has changed significantly, and the time is. I like recruiting myself, but it is a time commitment. I mean, when we have official visits, we have people that the parents come to our house on Saturday night. We have everybody come to our house for breakfast on Sunday morning. And the weekends that we have that are now 3 or 4 times greater than they used to be. Because the time's not condensed when guys used to visit because everything was geared toward the first Wednesday in February. So it has changed significantly. I'm not complaining about it, but it is much more time consuming. I think that it does impact a little bit the time that you spend with your players on your team, because that used to be just when we could be on the road. All right, so it does.